What's going on, Raider Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Raider Critique. I don't know if there's anybody actually in the chat right now, but I did want to talk about this Hall of Fame game. There are a few things that I would definitely like to talk about, but first I would like to go and take a look at their stats. Now, I'm sure that if you guys have hopped on Dyrti's and Lunatics podcast and you were checking us out over there at the Raiders Roundtable, you already know how I feel, so I'm going to sound like a broken record to you. But I'm sorry, I'm just really want to reiterate exactly how I felt about this team at this point from what we've seen from them so far. So first, let me go ahead and transition us right over here. Minimize this down, and we will jump right into here to look at the stats of this game. Now, the Raiders finished out on top, 27-11. Our total net yards was 321. Jacksonville had 273. Now, they don't have anything listed for the time of possession right out over here. I guess they just decided that they weren't going to keep time of possession. This is from this site here, which is pretty much the Raiders site. Stidham went 8 of 15 for 96 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Nick Mullins, 8 of 11 for 72 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Chase Garbers, 4 for 6 for 35 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Our leading rusher was Zamir White, rookie. 11 attempts, 52 yards, 14 was his long. He did not see the end zone. And then we have this dude, Austin Walter, man, that we brought in just earlier this week. He ran 8 times for 49 yards with a 22-yard long. He did have a touchdown. Josh Jacobs actually surprisingly played today, which, if you were watching the lives, what I was doing earlier, I didn't think any starters were going to play today, so this was a surprise to me. But Josh Jacobs, 5 times for 30 yards, 12 was his long. And he, from the times he touched the ball, he looked pretty strong. Now, Stidham had 1 attempt for 12 yards and a touchdown. Drake had 5 attempts for 9 yards. His longest was a 3-yard gain. Amir Abdullah, two attempts for 7 yards and also a touchdown. Nick Mullins, 1 for 0. Receiving, 2 receptions for 39 yards for Tyron Johnson. 25 was his long. Keelan Cole, 1 reception for 31 yards. Zamir White, 3 for 23, 19 was his long. Amir Abdullah, who showed up in the passing game, 2 receptions for 23 yards, 17 was his longest reception. Denarius Robinson, 2 for 17, 13 was his longest reception. Jay Beasley, 2 receptions for 16 yards, 10 was his long. Jason Horsted, which was 1 reception for 16 yards. Josh Jacobs, 2 for 14. Foster Morrow, 1 for 10. Jay Hollister, 1 for 7. D. Turner, 1 for 5. Austin Walter, 1 for 3. And Mac Hollins, 1 for -1. Now, if we look over here at their team, all right, Slaughter went 13 of 25 for 127 yards, 1 touchdown. And Luton went 10 of 17 for 94 yards. Their biggest major rusher was 22 yards in Mr. Sargent over here on 5 attempts. 11 was his long. And then you round that out with the rest of these guys, 13 yards, 10 yards, 8 yards, 4 yards, 2 yards. So when you get down here into receiving is when you see that Farrell had 3 receptions for 43 yards. Johnson had 2 receptions for 41 yards, 24 and 27, appreciatively being their longs. And then Sargent had a 12-yard long with 37 yards. 35 yards for Cotrelli. I mean, they were throwing the ball and also a touchdown for that man. So they were throwing the ball on this defense. but we were stuffing the run. That is for sure. Now, I didn't look, but I have taken a look at some of the overviews. Let me not go into that too much. Yeah, that's not what I want. I guess we could go into scoring overview, but I wanted to see how many sacks we gave up. I guess by looking over at the defense, we might be able to do so. But I don't see how to go over to the defense on this side here. I really don't. Well, I can tell you from what I remember, instead of going and actually looking at it, because this is showing me all of offensive stats, team stats, but it's not showing me defense. And you know, the crazy thing about it was I went to NFL.com, right? And when I went to NFL.com, they didn't even have the stats listed. So, I mean, kudos for these guys for having the stats listed at least. You know? But other than that, there's no defense on here. I can tell you we gave up 273 yards defensively. I know Arden Key for them got a sack. You know. Let me hop back on over here right quick. We're going to hop over here. So what I'm going to talk to y'all about is what the bad that I seen was. And just like everybody else, anybody who has a pair of eyes is certain that Brandon Parker at right tackle is a bad idea. The guy was getting just absolutely used all game long. If you were on the lives when I was talking with Dyrti and talking with Lunatic and talking with Raider Ben, it was talking with SC Experience, we were all talking about the same thing, man. This team, offensive line-wise, needs help. There was a whole bunch of huge hype behind Lester Cotton. We didn't really see too much of him at this point. You know, I mean, even we didn't see what all the hype was about. I know that's kind of how I felt about it as well. Because they hyped this guy up. Like, oh man, he's doing great, he's doing great. He didn't really show me nothing. We gave up 5 sacks. All right? 5 sacks we gave up. And it was mostly our starting offensive line who was in there, along with the rotational pieces that we have. We gave up 5 sacks, and 3 sacks were given up by this guy, not only by the second play of the game, he was getting burned by a rookie. I'm ready for the Brandon Parker experiment to end. I've been ready for the Brandon Parker experiment to end. He was a 3rd-round pick. We brought him in here. We put him up underneath Cable. And yes, he has gotten a little bit better as each year that goes by. But from seeing what I saw from him tonight, I don't want our quarterback getting killed. I really don't. And when they put Leatherwood in, and, you know, that's the funny thing. They weren't even talking about that during training camp. They weren't boasting about Leatherwood. As a matter of fact, they said Brandon Parker was beating out Leatherwood. But after seeing what we saw today, how they played, you know, actually getting to see with our own 2 eyes, Leatherwood is the much better option at right tackle than Brandon Parker is. It's inevitable. And with what he's showing, I don't even think we could trade this guy right now. That's really the only bad that I saw, is that Brandon Parker gave up 3 sacks, and without Brandon Parker giving up those 3 sacks, this offensive line only gives up 2. He's going to have to tighten it up, man. He's going to have to tighten it up, because if he doesn't tighten it up, our quarterback could, and he gets in the game, our quarterback could be on his back all game long for all 18 weeks of the season. And speaking about quarterbacks, man, when it comes down to it, what I saw this game, what the good was, man, was coaching. This team looked focused. This team looked on point, knowing their roles as what they are supposed to be as a player, knowing the scheme, being focused in on it, and disciplined. It was like night and day in between John Gruden's regime and Josh McDaniels' regime. Now, I know it's only been one game, but there's a different feel to this team. I feel it all the way down to the tips of my toes. This team just feels different, and I've been preaching about it all offseason. This team just feels different, man. And I like the direction that we're going. I'm actually enjoying where we are going. It feels so good to not have to trip out so hard. We beat the team 27-11. All right, now providing it's only third string and fourth string guys. We had third string and fourth string guys in there along with a few starters. There were some guys who suited up who did not play, like Derek Carr did not play. Josh Jacobs played, but we didn't see Davante Adams play. They were suited up, though. They were wearing their pads, if they needed to go in there. And that's what I like about it, man. I think this regime is getting this team ready. We've got guys like Davante Adams coaching on the sideline. He was like basically coaching up the second, third, and fourth stringers in there, correcting them, getting them where they needed to be, exactly where the leadership needs to be. We've got a bunch of wily veterans who are really good, who can also guide these younger players into being good as well. And as long as they trust the process, and after looking at this, I have no reason not to trust the process. This team was not creating penalties. It was no more dumb holding calls on the offensive line. I mean, providing there was a few 15-yard penalties where number 49 led with his helmet on that one hit, but guess what? He made up for it on that next one when he led shoulder first. It showed that he learned, which is almost unlike what we would have saw in a Gruden regime, a Gruden team built. So I'm excited about this season, Raider Nation. I think we're definitely on the right track. I mean, if we're really talking about it, man, I mean, I think we are exactly where we need to be. It feels good not to have to worry. So anyway, I mean, that's all I got. I hope that everything has been coming through. Sorry again for the late as I'm coming in here, you know what I mean, and getting this up, because nobody came into the live chat. That's what took so long for me to get everything squared away. But I did want to get every single one of your opinions on what you felt about this game. Because what I felt about this game, man, this has got to make all of us Raider fans happy. To see a well-oiled machine like this engine that Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, and company are creating, Patrick Graham with this defense, our special teams, our wide receivers, the leadership of this team, it just all feels different, and I know I like it. So anyway, Raider Nation, man, that's all I got for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And, man, come and check me out on all the other lives. I'll be on Dyrti Raider's channel sometimes. I'm also on the SC Experience sometimes. Just whenever I can pop in, man. And then, of course, I'll also be doing my own show, pre-game and post-game. I'm going to start doing more pre-games with the NFL 2K23 mod that I acquired. And I've been showing it off on my gaming channel. I'll be bringing it over here as well. So all of you guys can go ahead and check out an actual simulation football game that's not labeled under EA Sports. So it is a NFL 2K5 mod with the 2K5 controls and everything like that, but all the graphics are updated, the controllers are updated. It's really badass what that team actually did to that game to give us an updated, competitive football game with our actual teams on there, with our actual players. So anyway, I'm the Raider Critique, man. I'm going to go ahead and sign on out of here. And remember, what we always say here, man, trust the process. At least that's what we're saying this year. We can definitely trust the process this year. And if you can feel a little bit different about this team, if this team feels a little bit different to you, then come on, man. Let's just give it a Raiders, dude, and let's get on it, because we're going to have a fun season this year. It's time to get on over here, man, and start backing your team and backing every player on your team. Because think about it. If our second and third stringers played this good, can you imagine what it's going to be like when we get the whole first team in there? That's it right there, baby. It's Raider Nation for life.